when I finish the book that I'm working on currently, my next book is going to be about, it's going to be called Will You Help Me Die? And it's a memoir of my mother's last year. And it's about the difficulty of losing someone you love. And it's about the, the difficulties created by a social system where our elders are basically sacrifice zones and are uh, considered burdens to be gotten rid of. And it's, I've gotten a lot of notes over the past few years from people who say, I can't wait for this new book because they'll say, you know, I am to the age now where I am by myself going to have to take care of both of my dying parents. Or I've known some women who were simultaneously uh, taking care of single mothers who were taking care of their children and their dying parents at the same time. And we can talk all we want about hospice care existing, but the truth is that for many of us, we do it by ourselves. And I've known some people who are themselves older or disabled who have then been pretty much by themselves taking care of someone else who is older. And it is, I know from my own experience, impossible. I just had a note. I have a friend right now whose life is, whose mother has cancer, and he has devoted his life to taking care of her, and his, the rest of his life has completely disappeared because he's doing this all by himself. And as a consequence of this difficulty, a combination of this difficulty plus the fact that extended families no longer exist, and the fact that communities no longer exist, that's one of the ways that older people can end up becoming sacrifice zones because the younger people consider them burdens and uh, interfering with their the many important things they have to do, like, I don't know, watch television or play a game or sleep. Um, and as a consequence, many old people are warehoused. And I've been to those places, and when I was in my early 30s, before I wrote Listening to the Land, there was a book I was going to do where I would talk to old people and uh, um, and see what wisdom they could give to me, a young 30-year-old. And so I didn't know where I would find a collection of old people, so I went to some nursing homes, and I started doing interviews with people there, asking them about their childhood, about their youth, about their young loves, about their lives in general, what they had learned through their lives. And I stopped doing it for a couple reasons. One of them is that even though it was, one was because it was horrifying to go in there every day and to see all of these people who were basically in a warehouse. And the second reason that I stopped doing it is because it felt voyeuristic to me, in that and it felt like I was using them as a resource, in that the stories they were telling me were stories that should not have been told to a perfect stranger, but instead to their grandchild, as they are taking a walk through a forest, or as they are sitting around the dinner table, or as they are, I'm not going to blast TV here. They could be as you're watching a movie. It's the conversations we were having were a completely artificial intimacy. And I kept thinking the whole time, where are their children? And where are their grandchildren? Again, those are the ones who should hear these stories. And it's not, I used the word resource a minute ago, and I normally use that word in a negative sense. I was using a negative sense there, but it's also it's true in a positive sense too, that it's not only the old people who are losing out in this arrangement. That when I write the book about my mom's death, one of the first things, the first paragraph, it's better than this, but basically it's going to be that in the moments after she entered terminal delirium, I thought of 1,000 questions I wished I would have, 1,000. I thought of a dozen questions I wish I would have asked her. And to this day, 5 years later, on a daily basis, I will think about something, and I'll ask, oh, I should ask my mom. And she's not here for me to ask about what happened when I was, did we go on this to this place or this place when I was 7? Where was I 9? Or or she grew up in the 30s and she lived through World War II. And there are so many stories that she could tell me about that. Well, she couldn't tell me now because she's dead, but she could have told me. And I spent every evening with her for her last 20 years, and there are still 1,000 stories I wish I would have asked to hear. And so it's not, so the way we treat old people in general is appalling. Treating them as a sacrifice zone, as a burden. And it, it is not merely that the old people are being sacrificed on this altar of exigency and this altar of having I guess to put it value neutrally, having other interests in our lives. But it also harms us, harms the rest of us, because of the tremendous loss of continuity and the tremendous loss of wisdom and everyday enjoyment that we miss out because we don't have them as an integrated part of our lives, but instead push them into corners.